Hello and good day to everyone watching. My name is Aldrienne Cuevas from the Control Intelligence Group, and I will be teaching you on how to use logical functions in Excel. Before we dive into how to use these logical functions, we must first ask what exactly are they? Logical functions are used in spreadsheets to test whether a situation is true or false. Depending on the result of the test, you can then elect to do one thing or another. These decisions can be used to display information, perform different calculations, or to perform further tests. The first and one of the most common logical functions is the if function. This function allows us to make logical comparisons between a value and what we expect. For example, in our spreadsheet, I will place a comparison in Olivia's grades. I will put if B3 is less than 35 and anything less than 35 is a failure, while anything above passes. When we input and get the result, it is a failure. And if I drag the small green box in the lower right corner downwards, I can get automatic results for the rest of the students. The second logical function we will tackle today is called the OR function. It returns true if any of its arguments are true, evaluate to true, and returns false if all of its arguments evaluate to false. In Olivia's row of grades, I will evaluate the analysis column if B3 is less than 35, C3 is less than 35, D3 is less than 35, and if E3 is less than 35. The result I will get is false since none of these values are less than 35. To get the remaining results once again, I will drag the small green box in the lower right corner downwards. The third logical function is the AND function. I will be using the same spreadsheet as the OR function, but change some of the values. The function returns true if all of its arguments evaluate to true, and false if one or more arguments evaluate to false. I will use once again Olivia's row of grades and input equals and B3 is less than 35, C3 is less than 35, D3 is less than 35, and E3 is less than 35. Once again, none of them pass the test since none of the values have met the conditions. I will draw the small green box in the lower right corner to get the rest of the results. The second to the last function we have is called the XOR function. It is slightly different from the OR function because if there are two arguments and one argument is true, then the whole thing is true. If not, then it is false. With the XOR OR function, if you have three or more functions and if an odd number is true, then it is true. And if an even number is true, then the entire result is true. For example, you can see on the screen that I have 4 locations of a store with their sales. In column E, I have placed the result of the question. Is their sales bigger than their target? In every case, we can see that it is true. Now, in cell H4, I will propose the two propositions of B2 being bigger than D2 and B3 being bigger than D3. Since both are true, I get a false result. In cell H5, I will give 3 propositions. If B2 is bigger than D2, B3 greater than D3, and B4 is greater than D4. Since there is an odd number in the mix, I will get a true result. The last function we will tackle for today is the NOT function. This function reverses the logic of its argument, or it changes a true statement into a false statement, and vice versa. As you can see in the spreadsheet, we have 2 values of true and false. If I enter the function equals not true, then in B2, then the result is false. If I place the function equals not A3, where A3 is false, then my result is true. Now, that is all for my tutorial on how to use logical functions, and thank you for watching.